Hey y'all, it's Keith, and this is a Thursday night crit out at Fair Park. The last time that I was here was their opening night. The A race was held at night, and I'd never ridden the course before, so needless to say, that was a little bit scary. I just spent the entire time on the back trying not to get hurt. So this week is my chance to be a little bit more assertive. My goal is really just to stay as close to the front as I can so that I can respond to moves and be part of the action when the race gets real interesting. And as you can see through these first couple of turns here, I'm already moving backwards, so I'm not starting off on a great foot, but there's lots of time to move up. So one of the spots that I find I can move up well is this long finishing straight. It's nice and wide, and when the race slows down, I'm able to just sort of cruise up along the side and make up lots of positions. And in this case, I've got my teammate Brett on my wheel, and so I see him back there, and I'm carrying him up to the front with me so that one of us can do something. But this guy is about to start a little move as we go through turn 1 here, and so I need to slot in so that I know kind of where I'm at before the turn begins, which you can see causes a few issues, and then I lose the wheel in front. So I've got to hustle to get that back, because if I'm not on that wheel in turn 2 here, there's going to be problems. It's a really hard turn to see through. The only marker of like the outside edge is this one itty bitty traffic cone, and I just haven't gone through it enough times to know it by heart. So you go through there you see is the cone that if you've gone past it, you're going to hit a curb and go over your bars. So it's not a very forgiving one. But the pace is still high, and I'm just trying to make sure that I don't let things get too far away. Especially, it's going downhill here, and so I'm able to take it easy, but then it's going to kind of ramp up after we go through that little dip. But right as we do that, Kyle Swanson makes a counterattack, and David's on his wheel, which is Bad News Bears. So I've got to follow that as well, which again, this is kind of the point of being at the front, is being able to respond to these things, because this may look like a really hectic pace, but it's 3 times worse when you're at the back, and there's just this big delay in response. And you can see I don't go through this turn nearly fast enough. The guy behind me just jumps off of my line as soon as he realizes how slow I turn. And then you can see he's already like 5 bike lengths in front of me. So even though it's a big wide turn, there's a lot of room for me to go through that faster than I do. And then we get back to the finishing straight again. That's 1 lap. You've just saw the whole thing. And the gap that opens up here is tough to get back, and so I just need to close that down so that we can go again a little bit later. After things have been quiet for a little bit, I'm moving up slowly, and I see some people start to jump off on the right, and I'm just in too good of a position to turn down jumping on that wheel as well. And so I go along with it, and the group behind us chases pretty ardently. So this is a good little way to sort of test the legs and see what kind of things they're chasing and what they're not. Again, I'm going through the turn way too slow, even though there's no one around me. And by the time we get back to the finishing straight, we've been caught again. So a little move that doesn't really go anywhere, but still fun to be part of the action. And here you can see how people don't like how slowly I turn. Sorry, dude. As we come through this big round turn into the little cross section, I find myself like 3-4 wheels back, and the pace is kind of slow, so this is really a good opportunity to attack, and I just don't want to turn it down. So I jump off and go for it. This guy on the left's got a flat there. That's bad luck for him. And no one really follows me at first. I do get a pretty sizable gap, but my legs weren't really feeling it, so I didn't really have the gas to keep this one going. And again, if no one follows me, with the field this strong, I can't stay away by myself for sure. So eventually they do start working and pull me back, but it was still a fun little try. Now, in about the last third of the race, a breakaway of about 12 people's gotten away, and it's got all of the strong contenders in the race in it, and so I definitely want to be a part of that move. And so I decide to try and go bridge up to it. We've got a little spot here. I've had a few spare wheels to move up. And so, I mean, a bridge of this distance is going to be really hard to do, because that group up there is going to be moving really, really fast. And so I've just got to give it everything to try and, break out of this second group and bridge up there. And so I've lost the wheel of a couple of people there, and as I'm moving along some of the other people who were attacking around the same time I did, I pick up 2 of those guys. And so this guy jumps on my wheel, and the bridge effort continues. And you can see, most of the rest of the group behind us has really fallen away. But I scoop up this guy on my wheel, and then someone else is going to manage to join our party in a little bit. And so it just takes a lot of work to bridge of this distance. I think the group is like 15 seconds ahead of us. They're hard to see in the turns. Yeah, there's person number 3. And so at this point, I know that I've got some company, and so I pull off, take a look behind me, and see that it really is just a few of us. It's not the entire group. There's a small set of us, and so this is an ideal bridging scenario. I don't want to pull the entire group back, but I would like to pull just a handful of people. Lose the wheel there for a second, that's a mistake, but yeah, we've got a good gap on the rest of the people, so I'm going to go join these other two guys and see if we can swap poles and make our way up there. And the guy who's on the front right now pulls for a really long time, and I'm fine with that. Like, as long as the group behind us isn't gaining ground on us, which they're not, then, you know, this is a free ride for me, and that's perfect. So I'm not gonna, I resisted the temptation to shout at them to, like, you know, pull off or rotate. So here he finally shakes the elbow. The guy behind him pulls through, and we're coming up to that big round turn, and I'd rather not bring both of these guys with me. And so instead of just taking my pull, I attack them, because guy number 1, who had just pulled off, is probably still tired. Guy number 2 can't follow me because he just took at least half a pull. And so my goal is, like, I can see the pack in front pretty clearly by now, that maybe I can make it to that group alone instead of bringing along 2 other guys. This ends up not working. And so this probably, doesn't look too great on me as the guy who tried to attack out of the bridge, but if it had worked, it would have been nice. So finally catch up to that lead group, and then really the rest of the race with them is pretty calm as far as racing goes. There's not a whole lot of attacks, there's a few little surges in pace, but generally they're all pretty happy with the fact that they've got a group of just, 15, 14 people. That's a fine way to do a bunch sprint at the end. And so we just carry on with that group, and now we are at 2 laps to go, and I'm, kind of towards the front. They just had a preem, and so one person sprinted off for that preem and got it, and then he sat up. But I'm towards the front. There's a little bit of a lift in pace, and this is probably my best chance at maybe getting a good result, because I don't think I've got really what it takes in a bunch sprint here. And so these 3 guys have surged off by just a little bit, and so I decide if I can, kind of attack and pass them, use their slipstream to get away, that maybe I can, hold something that'll last for 2 whole laps. It's a little bit far-fetched, but it's worth a shot. Kind of, one of the last moves that I have available. And you can see this guy I'm passing up here is the one who just won the sprint. And so he's, just rolling back. He's waiting for the group to meet him. But the group behind did give me a fair amount of space, and I was really feeling it, but I think by the time I got to the last turn before the finishing straight, they were close enough where it was clear it was not going to happen. And so I tried to sit up and just let them pass me, but again, last lap at that point, nobody wants to be first wheel, and here I am giving everyone a guaranteed first wheel. So I go ahead and just accept that my race for at least a win is pretty much over, and just give a good tempo pull for a little bit until there's lots of room for me to decidedly pull off and let them go do the bunch sprint. So I could have stayed closer to the group here and at least stayed in contact, but at this point, if I finish a few seconds behind or with them, doesn't really matter. What mattered for me today was that I made the split and tried some things, was actually participating in the race instead of just spectating, and the process moves on onwards and upwards. So thanks for watching, everyone, and have a good week. Bye.